Chapter 1. The Infernal Cipher. The silence of the Auror office was a rare, fragile thing, broken only by the scratch of Elias Thorne's self-inking quill and the distant, muffled thwump of a ministry flow connection. He preferred it that way. Noise was a distraction, an unwanted variable in the intricate equations of his work. His desk, a relic of dark mahogany that had seen countless Aurors come and go, was an organized chaos of case files, meticulously annotated parchments, and a shimmering, silver orb that projected three-dimensional spell traces. Elias, a man whose sharp features seemed permanently etched with an expression of mild disdain, leaned closer to a magnified photo of a blasted open vault door. It was the third in as many months, each a supposed isolated incident by the ministry's blinkered standards. The official report cited amateur dark wizardry, perhaps a band of petty criminals growing bolder. Elias, however, saw the threads of a far more sinister tapestry. "Amateur," he muttered, his voice a low rasp, pulling a fresh sheet of parchment towards him. He uncapped a vial of iridescent green ink, its faint glow illuminating his angular face. "Amateur does not leave a vanishing rune perfectly dissolved, its magical signature utterly untraceable without the aid of a potion of scrying." He tapped the image with a long, slender finger. "Amateur does not bypass an arithmetic keylock designed by Professor Phineas Nigellus Black himself without so much as a tremor in the wards. And amateur certainly does not cherry-pick specific, highly volatile dark artifacts from collections that span centuries, leaving behind gold, jewels, and less potent curses." His current obsession was the theft from the private collection of Tiberius Flint, a notoriously reclusive pureblood who possessed a dangerous array of historical curiosities. The item taken, a cursed locket, rumored to hold a fragment of a long-dead necromancer's soul. Not particularly useful for petty larceny, but invaluable to someone seeking to manipulate the very essence of life and death. The previous two thefts had targeted a ritual dagger steeped in blood magic and a powerful, though unstable, object-animating relic. Each item, on its own, seemed like an isolated acquisition for a powerful dark wizard. Together, they whispered of something far grander, far more terrifying. He cross-referenced the Flint case with the one involving the Macmillan collection, the ritual dagger. Both had been protected by near-identical anti-apparition wards, yet both had been breached with a disturbing elegance. The common element wasn't the wards themselves, but the method of their neutralization. A specific, almost unique variant of the Confringo curse had been used, subtly modified to resonate with the ward's frequency, turning its defensive magic against itself. Only a handful of texts described such a complex application, and fewer still contained the precise incantation. "This isn't random," Elias said, though there was no one in his immediate vicinity to hear him. "This is targeted." He wrote a series of equations in his glowing ink, connecting the molecular magical residue found at each scene, the specific pressure points targeted in the wards, and even the ambient magical humidity on the nights of the thefts. His brain, a supercomputer of magical logic, whirred, finding patterns where others saw only chaos. A sharp rap on his open office door broke his concentration. Elias didn't look up immediately, instead finishing a complex arithmetic sequence. "Enter," he finally grunted, his tone indicating he'd rather they hadn't. Head Auror Barnaby Finch, a portly man with a perpetually furrowed brow and an irritating habit of quoting ministry decrees, peered in. "Thorne, a word." Elias sighed internally. Finch was the embodiment of ministry bureaucracy, all form, no substance. "Make it quick, Finch." "I'm busy dismantling your amateur theory." Finch bristled. "My amateur theory, Thorne, is the official ministry stance. These are isolated incidents. There is no evidence of a grand conspiracy, no sign of," he lowered his voice, "he who must not be named." Elias finally looked up, his gray eyes piercing. "And that's precisely the problem, isn't it? Your definition of evidence is a dark mark carved into the ceiling of the atrium. Mine is the statistical improbability of three highly specific, extremely dangerous artifacts being stolen in three distinct locations using an almost identical, highly advanced method, leaving behind matching trace elements of a specific, rare blood wort variant." He gestured vaguely at his desk. "I have the data. You have denial. Finch's face reddened. Your data is circumstantial, Thorne. It points to nothing conclusive. And your insinuation of, he leaned in conspiratorially. You know whose return is irresponsible. It causes panic, it undermines public confidence in the ministry, and frankly, it's tiresome. We put a stop to that madness over a decade ago. Did we? Elias countered, a sardonic curl to his lip. Or did we merely prune the visible branches, leaving the roots to fester? He pushed a parchment across his desk, detailing the unique magical signatures. Explain this, Finch. The residual energy footprint matches a known Death Eater enchantment, one documented only in files recovered from Azkaban after the First War. Used to bypass ministry-grade wards. Finch barely glanced at it. Coincidence. Someone replicated it. You're seeing what you want to see, Thorne. This obsession of yours, it borders on insubordination. You're supposed to be investigating these thefts, not fabricating connections to a phantom enemy. A phantom enemy who left a wake of death and destruction the last time he graced us with his presence, Elias murmured, his voice laced with venom. He knew arguing with Finch was pointless. Finch wasn't a malicious man, merely a terrified one, clinging to the official narrative like a life raft. Enough, Thorne, Finch said, straightening up. In light of your imaginative theories and your continued inability to work collaboratively, I've decided to assign you a partner. Perhaps a fresh perspective will help you focus on tangible leads. Elias frowned. A partner? He worked best alone. Collaborating was inefficient, requiring him to dumb down his processes to tolerate incompetence. Unnecessary. And likely counterproductive. No, it's mandatory, Finch stated with finality. She's new, eager, and comes highly recommended from magical law enforcement. Lysandra Vance. She'll be here in a moment. You'll brief her on the Flint case. With that, Finch turned and retreated, clearly pleased with his disciplinary maneuver. Elias slumped back in his chair, muttering a string of low, unsavory curses. A new, eager, junior Auror. This was worse than 1,000 Finch lectures. This was an active hindrance. He imagined her, wide-eyed, fumbling with her wand, asking idiotic questions about basic spellcasting. He hated teaching. He hated explaining. He hated people. Moments later, a soft knock echoed through the silence that had barely resettled. Auror Thorne, a voice, clear and surprisingly steady, inquired. Elias looked up, expecting the worst. What he saw was unexpected. Lysandra Vance was tall, perhaps a few years his junior, with intelligent, observant eyes the color of moss after rain. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical, no-nonsense bun, and her Auror robes, though new, seemed to fit her with an air of understated competence. She wasn't fumbling, nor did she look particularly wide-eyed, though a faint hint of apprehension was visible around her mouth. Vance, Elias acknowledged, his tone flat. Come in. Finch has decided I require a babysitter. Lysandra's lips twitched, but she maintained a professional composure. A pleasure, Auror Thorne. Though I assure you, my intent is to assist, not supervise. She stepped into the office, her gaze sweeping over the organized chaos of his desk, lingering for a fraction of a second on the glowing arithmetic equations before settling back on him. Her gaze was not intimidated, but curious. Right, Elias grunted, waving a dismissive hand at the empty chair opposite his desk. Sit. You're assigned to the Flint case. Stolen locket, high-value dark artifact. Ministry thinks it's petty thievery. I think it's a prelude to something far worse. He pushed the Flint file, along with the Macmillan and Pendergast files, the one with the object animating relic, across the desk towards her. Read them. All of them. Pay attention to the magical residue analysis, the ward breach reports, and specifically, the type of blood left at the Macmillan scene. Lysandra picked up the top file, her fingers surprisingly nimble as she flipped open the cover. She didn't launch into questions, didn't stammer. She simply began to read, her eyes scanning the parchments with a quiet intensity. Elias watched her, grudgingly impressed by her immediate focus. Most junior Aurors would have been intimidated by his reputation, by the sheer volume of material, or by his general brusqueness. He expected her to take an hour, perhaps more, to get through even one file. Yet, within 15 minutes, she had finished the Flint report, made a mental note of something, and moved on to Macmillan. She had a small, almost imperceptible frown as she read about the blood magic dagger and the specific blood type discovered. "Is something unclear, Vance?" Elias asked, baiting her slightly, ready to pounce on any sign of weakness. Lysandra looked up, her expression thoughtful. "No, Auror Thorne. The details are quite explicit." She paused, then pointed to a diagram of the ward breach in the Macmillan file. "This specific application of the Confringo curse, as you noted, is indeed highly unusual. But it's not the only repeated element." Elias raised an eyebrow, a flicker of something akin to interest stirring within him. "Oh." In the Macmillan report, Lysandra continued, tapping a paragraph. It mentions traces of a rare species of glowworm, Luminos vermiculus, found near the breach site. They're typically found only in the deepest, most undisturbed parts of the Forbidden Forest or certain cavern systems in the Highlands. Not in a meticulously maintained private garden in Wiltshire. Elias leaned forward, a strange prickle of recognition, not for the glowworm itself, but for the detail. He had seen that in the report, categorized under incidental findings by the cleanup crew. He dismissed it as an anomaly, focusing on the magical signatures. Lysandra then moved to the Pendergast file, flipping to a different page. And here, in the Pendergast report, the same Luminos vermiculus is mentioned. Again, listed as incidental environmental contamination near the breached window. Both times described as a faint, almost microscopic residue, easily missed. She looked at Elias, her gaze steady. They aren't native to either location, and their presence seems too precise, too deliberate, to be mere coincidence. Like a signature, perhaps. Elias stared at her, a profound silence settling over his office. He had dismissed it, focused on the macro, the grand magical patterns. He'd overlooked the microscopic, the biological. The arrogance of his own intellect, perhaps, had blinded him to the obvious. The Luminos vermiculus. Not magical residue, not spellcraft, but something an ordinary wizard might miss, something biological, yet deliberately placed. A physical cipher amidst the magical ones. A signature, Elias repeated slowly, a new light dawning in his eyes. A cold, calculating light that, for the first time, held a spark of grudging respect. "Indeed, Vance. An interesting observation." He picked up the Flint file again, his mind already racing. If the glowworms were a signature, a deliberately left clue, what did they mean? They weren't reagents, nor were they particularly dark creatures. But they were rare, and their presence in two separate, high-security thefts, thousands of miles from their natural habitat, was no coincidence. Lysandra offered a small, hesitant smile, a tiny victory in the face of his formidable presence. "Perhaps we should look for them at the Flint scene as well, Auror Thorne? If they're a consistent element, it might narrow down our search for who's behind these thefts." Elias didn't respond immediately. He was already pulling a fresh piece of parchment towards him, ignoring the existing annotations, his quill poised. The Infernal Cipher was taking shape, not just in spellcraft and arcane patterns, but in the subtle, biological breadcrumbs left behind. A new layer to the puzzle. And Lysandra Vance, the junior Auror he had so readily dismissed, had just handed him a crucial, unexpected piece. "Get your cloaks, Vance," Elias finally commanded, his voice sharper, more energized. "We're going back to Wiltshire." The phantom enemy, he realized, was not so phantom after all. And for the first time in a long while, Elias Thorne felt a flicker of anticipation, a recognition that the hunt had just become far more intricate and far more dangerous. The stale ministry air, thick with the scent of parchment and disillusionment, did little to soothe Elias Thorne's frayed nerves. He stood before the glowing analysis table in his private, meticulously organized office, ignoring the pile of dismissal reports from his superiors. Lysandra Vance, looking remarkably fresh for someone who'd spent the last 24 hours sifting through dust and dark magic residue, leaned over the table, her brow furrowed in concentration. Another dead end, then, she ventured, her voice gentle but firm, cutting through the silence Elias usually cultivated. Elias scowled, tapping a long, pale finger against a spectral shimmering image of the Goyle family's desecrated study. Not a dead end, Vance. A deliberate obfuscation. Every scrap of magical signature left by the primary thief has been systematically scrubbed. A standard obliviation, perhaps a subtle Evanesco variant, but applied with remarkable precision. He gestured to a faint, almost invisible wisp of azure light clinging to a phantom book spine. But not perfectly. There's a secondary signature here. Faint. Not the thief's. A sweeper's, I'd wager. Someone clearing the scene after the theft, not during. Lysandra leaned in closer, her emerald eyes catching the luminescence. Almost like a magical broom, sweeping away the crumbs. What kind of magic is that? It feels ancient. Obscure, certainly, Elias conceded, a flicker of appreciation in his eyes for her keen observation. A rarely taught variant of the Arden's Purgo charm, typically used in high-level espionage for forensic cleanup. Not something your average opportunistic thief would know, nor is it ministry standard. This suggests a professional, highly trained secondary operative. He straightened, pacing the small confines of his office. This isn't about acquiring random dark artifacts. This is about precise acquisition and meticulous concealment. And the ministry insists these are isolated incidents. He scoffed. Isolated, like a single tooth falling out just before the entire jaw collapses. So, someone is not just taking the artifacts, but also actively erasing traces and covering their tracks, Lysandra mused, a thoughtful frown on her face. And they're good at it. If this sweeper is so skilled, why leave even that faint residue? Arrogance, perhaps. Or overconfidence, Elias replied, stopping abruptly. More likely, the charm is not entirely foolproof against focused, highly sensitive analysis. Or they simply didn't anticipate anyone looking beyond the immediate evidence of the theft itself. Most Aurors would dismiss that as residual atmospheric magic. He tapped the table again. The signature, it has a peculiar resonance. A specific magical lineage or training. I've seen it before, or something very similar. There was an old informant of mine, Silas Croft. Used to dabble in rare magical components, often sourced from more disreputable circles. He had a knack for uncovering the unusual. This signature rings a faint bell. A snitch, then? Lysandra asked, scribbling in her notebook. He might know who uses such specific magic. Offense, Vance. A broker of forbidden goods. And a font of information. For the right price, Elias corrected, already pulling up Silas Croft's file from the ministry archives with a quick charm. He keeps an ear to the ground in Nocturne Alley. If anyone knows who's running a tight, discreet operation for dark artifacts, it would be Silas. They operate to the grimy entrance of Nocturne Alley, the air immediately heavy with the smell of decay, cheap potions, and something vaguely metallic. Lysandra suppressed a shiver, her hand instinctively going for her wand. Elias, however, seemed unfazed, his eyes scanning the shadowed doorways with surgical precision. Silas Croft's establishment was less a shop and more a glorified hovel, tucked behind a pawnbroker dealing in cursed jewelry. The door, usually bolted with a series of warding charms, hung ajar, revealing a gaping maw of darkness within. That's not right, Lysandra whispered, her hand now firmly on her wand. Silas was notoriously paranoid about security. Elias nodded, his expression grim. He pushed the door open fully, revealing a scene of utter chaos. Bookshelves were overturned, vials shattered, and what appeared to be dried, dark bloodstains marred the worn floorboards. The air was thick with the tang of stale magic, not the meticulous cleansing of the Goyle manor, but raw, violent energy. A struggle, Elias stated, stating the obvious for Lysandra's benefit, but his eyes were darting, cataloging every detail. And not a clean one. Whoever did this was in a hurry or less concerned with tidiness. He knelt, examining a particular scorch mark on the floor. Dark magic. Unrefined, but potent. This wasn't a casual disagreement. Lysandra, meanwhile, had moved to a corner, sifting through the wreckage. He's gone. No body. But these, she pointed to a few scattered objects. A miniature, intricately carved dragon skull, a common decorative item among nocturne alley fences, lay partially crushed. Beside it, a stack of what looked like mundane trade ledgers. These items are out of place. This dragon skull was always on his mantelpiece, facing the door. He told me it was a good luck charm. And these ledgers, he usually kept them locked in that charm chest. Elias joined her, his eyes falling on the ledgers. Good luck charm, or a simple indicator of his routine? He picked up one of the ledgers. It looked innocuous enough, filled with columns of figures and names of questionable provenance. This is too convenient. No cleanup here, yet the ledgers are intact. Why leave them? Lysandra picked up a second ledger. Maybe they're not what they seem. Look at the binding on this one. It's slightly different from the others. And this date here, 1990, winter solstice shipment, it's underlined 3 times, and then there's a series of seemingly random numbers next to it that don't align with any financial transaction. Elias's head snapped up. His eyes narrowed, scanning the page. Random numbers. No, not random. A pattern. A subtle, almost imperceptible shift in ink density. A break in the ruling line beneath certain figures. A coded message. Well spotted, Vance. He took the ledger, his mind already whirring. This was his territory. The logic, the patterns. The sweeper from the Goyle Manor. The dark magic here. And now, a compromised informant and a coded message. This isn't just a simple artifact ring. This is organized. And Silas was compromised because he knew something about it. Back in Elias's office, the coded ledger lay open on the analysis table. Elias had cast several revealing charms, but the code resisted easy deciphering. It wasn't a simple substitution cipher or a magically encrypted text. It was embedded within the mundane, a layer of meaning woven into the seemingly innocuous. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack where every piece of hay is also a needle, Elias muttered in frustration, rubbing his temples. The variance in stroke pressure on certain numerals, the minuscule misalignments in the columns, the deliberate grammatical errors in the accompanying text. It's a manual cipher, incredibly intricate. Lysandra, ever practical, offered, perhaps we're looking at it too magically. If it's designed to be overlooked, maybe the trick is to see it as human error, not magical disguise. What would Silas hide that he couldn't encrypt with a charm? Elias paused, considering this. Fear, perhaps. A message meant to be found, but only by someone who knows what to look for, without immediately triggering a magical alarm. The day dissolved into a blur of frustrated analysis. Elias, usually so quick to break down any logical puzzle, found himself hitting walls. The human element, the intent behind the code, felt elusive. Lysandra patiently suggested angles, pointing out instances where Elias's focus on complex magical theory might be blinding him to a simpler, more mundane solution. Finally, just as the evening shadows lengthened, Elias found himself outside a familiar, unassuming cottage on the outskirts of Ottery St. Catchpole. The wards shimmered faintly, a comforting embrace of old magic. He knocked, a rare concession to conventional politeness. Alistair Blackwood, his face etched with the wisdom of decades, opened the door. His eyes, though aged, still held a piercing intelligence. Elias. And young Lysandra. Come in, come in. To what do I owe the pleasure of this visit? Trouble, I presume. Inside, by a crackling fireplace, Blackwood listened patiently as Elias, with uncharacteristic bluntness, laid out the full scope of his frustration, the ministry's denial, the sophisticated thefts, the sweeper signature, the compromised informant, and the infuriatingly complex coded message. He even, reluctantly, admitted Lysandra's contribution to spotting the code. Blackwood stroked his beard, his gaze thoughtful. An infernal cipher, indeed. A web woven not just with magic, but with silence and denial. The greatest trick the serpent ever played was convincing the world it did not exist. He smiled faintly at Lysandra. You speak of human error, Miss Vance. And Elias, you seek logic, a direct path through the maze. But sometimes, the path is the maze. And the error is the clue. Elias bristled slightly. I'm looking for patterns, Alistair. Logical sequences that point to the identity of the network, the individuals involved. "And you will find them, Elias," Blackwood said, his voice soft but firm. "But remember, a man who builds a fortress of logic around his mind finds it impenetrable to external attack, but also to internal light. You're searching for a map. But a map only shows where you are and where you could go. It does not show you why someone built the road, or what they truly hope to find at its end." He picked up a gnarled piece of driftwood from a basket beside the fire. "This wood, it floats because of its density. That is a fact. But it floats because it was shaped by the tide, worn by the current, carried by the invisible push of the ocean. The logic is in the current, not just the wood." He looked directly at Elias. "You must see the currents, Elias. The subtle, invisible forces that shape the actions of men. The fear that makes them deny, the ambition that makes them betray. These are not always logical, but they're always there. Look at the spaces between the words, not just the words themselves. Look for the deliberate void. The absence can be a louder declaration than any presence." Back in Elias's office, the cryptic words echoed. The deliberate void. The absence is a louder declaration. Lysandra was still poring over the ledger. "Look, Elias. Every time Silas listed a delivery to a Mr. S. Finch, a known handler for ministry requisitions, there's a slight skip in the page number sequence on the left, but only in this ledger, not the others." Elias leaned in, his eyes snapping back to the ledger with renewed focus. A deliberate skip. Not a numbering error, because the next valid number appears later in the sequence. It's an absence. A void. He began to cross-reference these voids with the specific dates and numerical anomalies Lysandra had pointed out earlier. His fingers flew, extracting the seemingly disparate elements. Suddenly, a series of numbers and letters, previously meaningless, began to align. It wasn't a word, not yet. But it was a sequence. A grid reference, Elias breathed, his voice tight with discovery. And a time code. Modified, but consistent. It points to a location. And a specific date. He traced the numbers, his mind racing, connecting the patterns. A vault. Within the ministry itself. And the date. It's 3 days from now. Something is being moved. Something important. And Percival Greystone's division handles all high-security transfers of ministry assets. Lysandra's eyes widened, understanding dawning. Silas wasn't compromised just for knowing who the sweeper was. He knew what they were planning. And this coded message, it's a warning. They're targeting something inside the ministry. Elias's gaze hardened, no longer merely logical, but now infused with a chilling certainty. They're not just stealing artifacts. They're undermining the ministry from within. And whatever they're after in 3 days, it's far more significant than a Goyle heirloom. This isn't a series of thefts, Vance. It's a staged infiltration. And Greystone is at the heart of it. He looked at the deciphered fragment, a cold knot tightening in his stomach. Phase 1 complete. Wardstone acquisition initiated. Solstice. The date was the winter solstice. The ultimate prize was a Wardstone, a critical ministry asset capable of protecting or destroying vast areas. The game had just become deadly. The stale air of the abandoned warehouse hung heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth, decaying wood, and a faint, metallic tang Elias had learned to associate with dark magic. Moonlight, fractured by grime-coated skylights, painted spectral streaks across rusted machinery and mountains of dust-shrouded crates. Elias moved with a predatory stillness, his wand held low, his eyes scanning every shadow, every creak. Lysandra, just a pace behind him, mirrored his caution, her senses equally alert, though her grip on her wand seemed less a weapon and more a beacon against the oppressive gloom. The coordinates from the coded message led us right to the outskirts of Little Whinging, Elias murmured, his voice barely a whisper. Hardly a bastion of wizarding activity. Too quiet. Perhaps that's the point, Lysandra replied, her voice steady despite the eerie atmosphere. Less chance of drawing attention from the ministry patrols. Or any observant muggles. She gestured towards a faint shimmer in the air ahead, almost imperceptible. Strong concealment wards. And something else, a faint pulse, like a heartbeat. Elias nodded, already feeling it. The infernal thrum of something ancient and malevolent. Precisely what I'd expect from a temporary staging ground. He ran a spectral finger along the nearest crate. This dust hasn't been disturbed in years, but there's a fresh track here. A single individual, heavily laden, judging by the depth. His gaze settled on a towering pile of sacks at the far end of the warehouse. That pulse is emanating from behind those sacks. They advanced, wands held high. As they rounded the obstacle, a tableau of unsettling intent unfolded before them. Amidst a hastily cleared space stood an ornate pedestal, and upon it pulsed a black, obsidian-like sphere about the size of a bludger. It didn't merely reflect the dim light, it seemed to drink it, drawing the shadows into its polished surface. A series of archaic runes, etched directly onto the dusty floor around the pedestal, glowed with a sickly green luminescence. It was radiating pure, raw dark magic, the kind that made one's teeth ache and one's stomach churn. By Merlin's beard, Lysandra breathed, her face pale. The Eye of Erebus. I thought that was just a myth. Elias felt a prickle of unease, his logical mind struggling to categorize the sheer malevolence emanating from the artifact. Myth or not, it's certainly real, he said, forcing a calm tone. A relic rumored to drain magical energy from living beings, leaving them a husk. And someone is attempting to activate it. The runes, they're incomplete. Thank Morgana. Before he could elaborate, a guttural snarl ripped through the silence. From the deeper shadows, a figure lunged. Clad in rough, dark robes, his face obscured by a crude, skull-like mask, the man was clearly a mercenary, not a Death Eater of any rank. He moved with brutal efficiency, his wand already spitting hexes. Lysandra, shield. Elias barked, throwing up a shimmering protego just as a jet of purple light slammed into it. The mercenary followed with a rapid succession of nonverbal curses, his movements jerky and aggressive. Elias's spells were precise, analytical. He didn't waste motion. Expelliarmus followed by a well-aimed stupefy. But the mercenary was surprisingly resilient, blocking Elias's disarming charm with a desperate parry, then rolling to avoid the stunning spell. He unleashed a nasty trip jinx that had Elias stumbling. He's using a blood ward charm. Lysandra cried, recognizing the faint crimson shimmer around the mercenary. A lesser version, but it's deflecting direct attacks. We need to disrupt his focus. Elias, momentarily regaining his balance, cursed under his breath. He had been so focused on disabling the mercenary's wand arm that he'd missed the subtle defensive magic. His pure logical approach, while effective against most, sometimes overlooked the less elegant, more desperate measures of the truly cornered. The mercenary, seeing his momentary advantage, raised his wand towards the pulsating Eye of Erebus. A dark, guttural incantation began to rumble from his throat. He's trying to siphon power from it. Lysandra shouted, her voice laced with urgency. Or worse, force its activation. Elias recognized the danger. If the Eye of Erebus fully activated, its drain would be indiscriminate. They would be as vulnerable as the mercenary. He aimed another stupefy, but the blood ward flared, deflecting it again. He's drawing on the ambient dark magic from the eye itself for the ward. Elias deduced, his mind racing. He needed a way to sever that connection without getting close to the artifact. I need an opening to disrupt his concentration. Lysandra didn't hesitate. While Elias was theorizing, she was acting. With a swift bombarda maxima aimed not at the mercenary, but at a precarious stack of heavy metal crates above him, she created a deafening explosion of sound and debris. Metal shrieked, dust billowed, and a shower of heavy objects rained down. The mercenary, startled and disoriented, reflexively dropped his blood ward to conjure a frantic protego over his head, shielding himself from the falling debris. It was the opening Elias needed. Confringo, he bellowed, aiming not at the man, but at his feet. The floor beneath the mercenary erupted, sending him sprawling amidst the dust and scattered metal. Before he could recover, Elias's stupefy hit him square in the chest, rendering him unconscious. Elias felt his heart hammering, a visceral reaction he usually suppressed. He stared at Lysandra, who was calmly dusting off her robes, her breathing only slightly elevated. That was unconventional, he managed, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Effective, she countered simply, meeting his gaze without a hint of apology. You were too focused on the charm, Elias. Sometimes you just need to break things. He nodded slowly, a muscle twitching in his jaw. She was right. His methodical approach, while brilliant for pattern recognition, had nearly cost them. He'd been so absorbed in dissecting the enemy's magic, he'd almost missed the bigger, more immediate threat. It was a humbling realization. All right, he conceded, the word a reluctant grunt. Effective. Thank you, Vance. The admission, even that small one, felt like a major concession. They quickly disarmed the unconscious mercenary, binding him with incarcerus and adding several powerful sticking charms. As Elias began to analyze the incomplete runes around the Eye of Erebus, Lysandra knelt beside the mercenary. No identifying marks, she noted, rifling through his pockets. Just some galleons and a tattered receipt for a dingy pub in Nocturne Alley. She paused, her brow furrowed. Wait, what's this? She held up a small, intricately folded piece of parchment. It wasn't a standard note. It bore a faint, almost invisible magical signature, a subtle anti-detection charm that even Elias had almost missed earlier. When Lysandra carefully unsealed it, they found not text, but a small, precise diagram. It depicted the Eye of Erebus, surrounded by a ring of runes identical to the ones on the floor, but with one critical difference, a single, final rune etched in a slightly different position, completing the circuit. He was provided with the final rune, Elias deduced, snatching the parchment. His eyes narrowed. Someone wanted him to activate this, not just guard it. He examined the parchment closer. And the anti-detection charm, it's incredibly sophisticated. Ministry grade, practically. And not the standard ministry issue, Lysandra added, pointing to a tiny, almost imperceptible symbol embossed in the corner of the parchment, a stylized, interlocked P and G. This is the personal seal of Percival Greystone. He uses it on internal memos to indicate eyes-only information from his division. Elias felt a cold dread settle in his stomach, far worse than the fear from the near-miss with the mercenary. Percival Greystone, the amiable, highly respected head of the DM Lee's investigation division. Elias had seen that seal countless times, always dismissing it as a bureaucratic flourish. Now it screamed betrayal. The anti-detection charm, Elias muttered, piecing it together. It's a variant of the Veritas Veil, developed by the Advanced Warding Committee. Greystone personally oversaw its limited rollout for top-secret interdepartmental communications. Lysandra's eyes widened. So, this wasn't just a rogue thug. Someone high up in the ministry provided him with the final key to activate the Eye of Erebus. Someone who wanted this specific artifact online. Someone who has access to ministry-grade charms and a personal seal that implies authority. Elias looked from the parchment in his hand to the still pulsating Eye of Erebus. The implications were staggering, horrifying. It wasn't just disparate thefts. It was a coordinated assault, and the enemy was closer than he could have imagined. Greystone wasn't merely denying Voldemort's return, he was facilitating it. He's not just undermining us from within, Vance, Elias said, his voice hard, devoid of its usual detached analysis, replaced by a grim resolve. He's actively working for Voldemort. The Infernal Cipher isn't just a network of spies, it's a venomous serpent coiling around the very heart of the Ministry. This mercenary was a pawn, but Greystone, he's the hand guiding the pawn. His logical mind, usually his shield, now felt like a lens focusing a horrifying truth. The stolen artifacts, the coded messages, the compromised informants, they were all pieces of a much larger, darker puzzle, meticulously orchestrated by a man Elias had respected, or at least tolerated. The arrogance that had led him to dismiss Lysandra's more intuitive approach moments earlier now crumbled under the weight of this revelation. He had been so sure his intellect could outpace any threat, yet a seemingly friendly face had been hiding in plain sight, pulling strings from the very top. "We need to get this mercenary to the Department of Magical Law Enforcement," Lysandra said, her tone urgent. "And this parchment. It's direct evidence against Greystone." Elias shook his head, a new understanding dawning on him. "No, not yet. We can't trust the Ministry with this. Not with Greystone at the helm of investigation. He'd make this evidence disappear, silence the mercenary, and pin it all on us for disrupting an active Ministry operation." He looked at Lysandra, his gaze intense, stripping away the layers of his usual condescension. "You were right, Vance, about the unorthodox approach. And you saved my life. I've underestimated you. And I've underestimated the enemy." He clutched the parchment, the PG seal burning beneath his thumb. "Greystone isn't just a problem for the Ministry. He's a problem for us. If he's willing to activate the Eye of Erebus, what else is he planning? What other critical Ministry assets is he preparing to steal or compromise from under our very noses?" The lingering burn in Elias's side was a constant, searing reminder of the previous night's close call. The dark artifact, a cursed amulet designed to drain life force from anyone nearby, had lashed out, its residual magic searing through his defensive charms before Lysandra's quick thinking had banished it. He'd spent the rest of the night in the Ministry's infirmary, nursing a wicked magical burn that promised to scar. Lysandra, despite his curt dismissals, had been there, vigilant and quiet, until he was discharged at dawn. Now, hours later, the sterile Ministry cafeteria felt unusually vibrant, the clatter of cutlery and murmured conversations a stark contrast to the quiet intensity of their makeshift office. Elias prodded a lukewarm sausage with his fork, his eyes scanning the daily edition of the Daily Prophet. "Another misunderstanding at the Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes," he muttered, tracing an obscure glyph in the corner of a photograph. 3 minor spells backfiring simultaneously. The official report blames a faulty weather charm. Lysandra, nursing a steaming mug of peppermint tea, raised an eyebrow. "You think it's connected?" She'd insisted on accompanying him to work, her worry palpable beneath a veneer of professional calm. The dark circles under her eyes mirrored his own. 3 independent failures, all within the same quadrant of the Ministry's 5th level, all involving low-level enchantment specialists with spotless records, Elias recited, leaning back in his chair, wincing slightly. "It's statistically improbable, Lysandra. The Ministry wants to believe in coincidence, but coincidence is the lazy man's explanation for a pattern he's too dull to see." Lysandra hummed, her gaze distant. "Percival Greystone paid us a visit last night after you were discharged. Expressed his deepest concern for your well-being. Offered to take over the artifact investigation, citing your injury and the sensitive nature of the case." Elias's jaw tightened. "Of course he did. He wants that amulet out of my hands." "It wasn't a mere amulet, Lysandra. It was designed to specifically target the magical signature of a seasoned Auror, almost a magical fingerprint. An attempt to disable, not kill, which is curious." He tapped the newspaper again. "And this weather charm incident, it feels like a diversion. A stress test, perhaps." "A stress test for what?" Lysandra asked, her brow furrowed. Elias pushed his plate aside, the burn in his side an unwelcome throb. "The Ministry's internal wards. The incident occurred near the central conduits for the Ethelred Heartstone. It's the primary wardstone, buried deep beneath the Ministry, powering everything from anti-apparition wards to the very enchantments that keep our papers from flying away." Lysandra's eyes widened. "The Heartstone? That's ancient magic. You need an entire team of unspeakables to even access the chamber, let alone tamper with it. The security protocols are legendary." "Legendary, but not impenetrable," Elias countered, his mind already racing, connecting disparate threads. "Greystone wants to steal it. That amulet, it was designed to neutralize a high-level magical signature, not a direct kill. He was targeting me because I was too close to discovering his plan. He needed me out of the way, or at least incapacitated enough to slow me down." "Why steal the Heartstone?" Lysandra pressed. "It wouldn't just disable the Ministry, it would plunge half of magical London into chaos. And it would make the Ministry completely vulnerable to external attack." "Exactly," Elias said, a cold certainty settling over him. Not just external attack. It would allow silent infiltration. A Death Eater network operating within the Ministry. Steal the Heartstone and all the Ministry's defenses, its internal communications, its anti-scrying enchantments, even the basic structural integrity of the building would begin to unravel. It would be a slow, insidious collapse, a perfect cover for a master planning his return. A chill went down Lysandra's spine. But how would he even get close? And when? Elias picked up his quill, scribbling rapidly on a napkin. The faulty weather charm incident. It was on the 5th floor, same level as the old ritual chambers. And who signed off on the requisition for arcane dust suppressants for that section? Greystone. He claimed it was for routine maintenance, to prevent residual magic from lingering. But arcane dust suppressants, they're also potent ward disruptors, albeit slow-acting and subtle. He's weakening the outer layers of the Heartstone's chamber wards, disguising it as maintenance. Lysandra exclaimed, her voice barely above a whisper. And the amulet. He tried to incapacitate you to buy him time, knowing you'd be the one to spot it. He underestimated my recovery time and your stubbornness, Elias said, a rare, almost imperceptible ghost of a smile touching his lips. He looked at Lysandra, a flicker of genuine appreciation in his eyes. You noticed his visit. You heard his offer. You connected his concern to his desire to remove me. Your observational skills are sharper than you give yourself credit for, Vance. Lysandra felt a warmth spread through her. Elias Thorne rarely gave compliments, let alone acknowledged another's contributions without caveat. This was progress. So, the Heartstone is the target. What's his timeline? He wouldn't risk a direct assault without an assurance of success. Elias returned to the prophet, his gaze now hyper-focused. The Ministry is hosting the International Conclave of Ancient Rune Scholars tomorrow evening. It's a major event, drawing high-ranking officials and security personnel to the atrium for the opening ceremony. A perfect distraction. He'd use the opportunity to steal it when the Ministry's focus is elsewhere. Tomorrow evening, Lysandra breathed, looking at her watch. Less than 24 hours. We have to stop him, Elias. But how? We can't just storm Percival Greystone's office and accuse him of treason. He's too well respected. No, we can't, Elias agreed, pushing himself up, his injury protesting. We need irrefutable proof, and we need to intercept the actual attempt. He won't risk his own neck, not directly. He'll use proxies, disguised as maintenance crews or even Aurors. The key is to catch them in the act, then link them directly to Greystone. He walked over to a map of the Ministry of Magic pinned to their wall, tapping a point deep beneath the building. The chamber for Ethelred's Heartstone. Access is through the archives, then a series of ancient tunnels that only a few unspeakables are even aware of. But there's a forgotten service tunnel, sealed off centuries ago, that could provide a backdoor. How would he know about that? Lysandra asked, following his finger. Old Ministry records, likely hidden in plain sight, or a loyalist from an old pure-blood family with ancestral knowledge, Elias theorized. Greystone comes from a long line of Ministry administrators. It's plausible. We need to find that tunnel. And we need to get there before his operatives do. They spent the next few hours meticulously cross-referencing old blueprints, Ministry personnel schedules, and requisition forms. Lysandra proved invaluable, her meticulous eye for administrative details unearthing a series of seemingly innocuous overtime requests for the archive maintenance team, requests signed off by Greystone himself, for times coinciding with the weather charm incident and extending into tomorrow evening. Look, Lysandra pointed, her finger on a faded parchment. These names, they're new hires. All within the last 6 months. And their background checks were processed by Greystone's division. Minimal records, mostly self-attested. Elias's eyes narrowed. Ghost employees. Or operatives slipped in under his authority. They'll be his hands, Lysandra. They'll be the ones down in the tunnels. Their hunt for the Forgotten Service tunnel led them to the Ministry's labyrinthine sublevels, a dusty, disused section filled with discarded magical equipment and forgotten archives. The air grew heavier with ancient magic and neglect. Elias, despite his pain, moved with a focused intensity, his wand sweeping for ward signatures, Lysandra trailing close behind, casting lumos whenever their wands flickered. Here, Elias finally declared, tapping a section of crumbling stone wall with his wand. Faint magical resonance. A ceiling ward old as dirt, but still active. Someone's been probing it recently. And see the faint trace of arcane dust suppressant? He is weakening it. So, this is it, Lysandra whispered, her hand instinctively going to her wand. They'll be here tomorrow night. No, Elias countered, his gaze grim. Greystone wouldn't risk us catching on. He'd accelerate the timeline. If the conclave is a distraction, the actual theft must happen before the main security is deployed to the atrium. Tonight, Lysandra. It has to be tonight. Just then, a faint scraping sound echoed from deeper within the tunnel, followed by a hushed, gruff voice. They froze. Elias silenced Lysandra with a hand gesture. His eyes darted around, assessing their limited cover behind a stack of moth-eaten magical tapestries. The scraping grew louder, accompanied by the distinct sound of a finite incantatum spell, followed by another. They're already here, Lysandra mouthed, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and adrenaline. They're ahead of schedule, Elias muttered, his voice barely audible. He gripped his wand, the lingering burn in his side a dull ache compared to the surge of adrenaline. This is it, Vance. Our window. He looked at her, his eyes serious. Stick close. And don't hesitate. Lysandra nodded, her own wand now firmly in hand, her gaze resolute. The isolated, arrogant genius had finally opened himself to partnership, and she, in turn, was ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with him, even against the insidious darkness lurking beneath the ministry. The sounds of the ceiling ward finally giving way echoed, followed by the soft crunch of loose stone. A sliver of light appeared through the newly formed crack. They were too late to prevent access, but not to stop the theft. The Infernal Cipher was about to reveal its true face. The oppressive silence of the high-arched ministry conference room hung heavy, punctuated only by the distant whirring of enchanted quills in the Department of Mysteries below. Elias Thorne stood at the head of a polished obsidian table, his gaze sweeping over the assembled ministry officials. Minister Fudge, puffy-faced and already sweating despite the cool enchantments, sat directly opposite, flanked by Robards, head of the Auror office, and Amelia Bones, the formidable head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement. Percival Greystone, ever the picture of unassuming competence, occupied a seat near Bones, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk playing on his lips. Beside Elias, Lysandra Vance stood tall, her presence a steady anchor, her hand subtly resting on the folder containing their compiled evidence. Elias cleared his throat, the sound unnaturally loud in the tension-filled air. Thank you for gathering, gentlemen and madam. I believe we have conclusive evidence regarding the recent dark artifact thefts, the attempted sabotage of the ministry's wardstone, and the true identity of the individual responsible for coordinating these acts. Fudge shifted, his brow furrowing. Auror Thorne, we appreciate your diligence, but we've been over this. The wardstone incident was a rogue dark wizard, now apprehended. The thefts are isolated incidents, surely. And as for the other matter, he trailed off, avoiding the unspoken name. With all due respect, Minister, Lysandra interjected smoothly, her voice calm but firm. The rogue dark wizard, apprehended in the wardstone incident, was a known patsy, coerced and imperious, as our investigations have confirmed. His confession was riddled with inconsistencies we've since corroborated. Elias nodded, picking up where she left off. And the thefts, Minister, are anything but isolated. They form a deliberate pattern, a collection of specific items, a cursed mirror of phantasm, a shard of the whispering stone, the medallion of infernal binding, each possessing unique properties useful for communicating over vast distances, enhancing dark rituals, or breaking existing protective enchantments. They were not chosen at random. He paused, letting his words sink in, then fixed his piercing gaze on Greystone. Percival, you oversee the investigation division. Yet, Despite my repeated requests for more resources, for cross-referencing suspects across these isolated cases, for even acknowledging the possibility of a coordinated effort, you consistently denied it. You classified them as low priority, dismissing my theories as unsubstantiated paranoia. Greystone chuckled, a warm, reassuring sound that belied the sudden chill in the room. Elias, my boy, you know I respect your intellect, but sometimes your imagination runs a little wild. We must deal with facts, not speculation. And the facts, as I've repeatedly stated, simply don't support your grand conspiracy. Indeed, Percival, Elias replied, a razor-sharp edge to his tone. Let's deal with facts. He tapped a thick dossier. Fact 1. The informant, Silas Crumb, who led us to the compromised communication network, the one you insisted was merely a petty smuggling ring, was found dead less than an hour after he delivered his coded message to us. A message Lysandra and I decoded only because you explicitly stated it was garbled nonsense and not worth our time. Lysandra opened her folder, projecting an enchanted image onto the wall, a series of arcane symbols and numbers. The coded message, which we've translated, revealed specific dates and locations for the next planned theft, the Medallion of Infernal Binding. It also contained a unique signature, a specific sequence of numbers that, when reversed and run through a complex arithmancy cipher, points directly to a restricted ministry communication channel. A channel accessible only to a select few high-ranking officials. And Percival, Elias continued, his voice dropping slightly, you were the primary administrator of that very channel. Furthermore, the medallion was indeed targeted on the precise date and location indicated. If not for Auror Vance's quick thinking, it would have been stolen. Greystone's smile faltered, replaced by a subtle tightening of his jaw. Coincidence, Elias. A tragic series of unfortunate events. Crumb was always involved with unsavory characters. And as for the channel, yes, I oversee many. It's my job. Is it also your job, Elias pressed on, to reassign Aurors who get too close to sensitive investigations? To divert inquiries away from key suspects? To delay paperwork that could have prevented the theft of the Shard of the Whispering Stone for over a week, claiming unforeseen administrative backlog? Elias projected a series of interdepartmental memos, each bearing Greystone's signature, highlighting suspicious delays and reassignments. Robards leaned forward, his expression grave. Percival, is this true? Greystone cleared his throat. Bureaucracy, Alistair, as you well know, is a beast unto itself. And I merely sought to streamline efforts, to ensure Aurors weren't chasing ghosts when there were real criminals to apprehend. Ghosts, Elias scoffed softly. Or perhaps the real criminals were too close to home. Let's talk about the attempted sabotage of the Ministry Wardstone. The rogue dark wizard was apprehended near the ritual site, yes. But the powerful obfuscation charms used to mask his presence were precisely the same complex, highly specific runes found in a rarely published arithmancy text, a text, Percival, that you acquired from the restricted section of the Ministry Library only 3 weeks prior to the incident. There's a time-stamped borrowing record. He displayed the record, a stark, undeniable piece of evidence. A tremor ran through the room. Fudge looked like he might faint. Amelia Bones's eyes, usually sharp, now burned with a cold fury as she stared at Greystone. Greystone's facade finally began to crack. His face, usually so placid, contorted into a snarl for a fleeting moment before he regained control. This is preposterous. You're grasping at straws, Elias. Fabricating connections where there are none. You've always been obsessive, seeing Dark Lords under every bed. It's an insult to my loyalty, to my years of service. Loyalty. Lysandra's voice cut through his bluster, calm and clear. You sent Elias and me on a wild goose chase to the old Blackwood estate, supposedly for a suspect sighting you claimed to have received. A sighting that mysteriously vanished from the records. But that specific estate, Percival, was the location where a Death Eater cell had been known to operate during the last war. It was a perfect trap, designed to remove us permanently. Elias's eyes, usually cold and calculating, now held a flicker of something akin to genuine anger. You underestimate us, Percival. We survived that trap, and we learned something invaluable from it. We learned just how desperately you wanted us out of the way. You knew we were close to uncovering the truth behind the Infernal Cipher, the network of spies you've been meticulously building, recruiting, and positioning within the Ministry itself, subtly preparing for Voldemort's return. The name hung in the air, a forbidden echo that made Fudge gasp audibly. Voldemort is gone. Fudge blustered, trying to claw back control, but his voice lacked conviction. We defeated him. This is madness. Is it madness, Minister? Elias countered, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him, to recognize that the systematic theft of artifacts for powerful dark rituals, the creation of an internal Ministry spy network, and the attempts to compromise the Ministry's very foundations, including its primary wardstone, are all consistent with preparations for a Master's resurgence? Percival Greystone isn't just a disgruntled employee or a misguided ideologue. He is a loyal, cunning Death Eater, meticulously executing a plan to pave the way for his master. Elias then revealed the final, irrefutable piece of evidence. The coding in Silas Crumb's message, the one Greystone dismissed as garbled nonsense, didn't just point to Greystone's private channel. Hidden within the deeper layers of the cipher was a partial incantation for an ancient, forbidden dark arts ritual, the ritual of infernal binding, which requires the cursed mirror, the shard of the whispering stone, and the medallion of infernal binding to be performed. A ritual whose purpose is to tether a disembodied soul to a specific vessel, accelerating its recovery and rebirth. And the planned date for this ritual, which we painstakingly uncovered, is tonight. A wave of palpable fear swept through the room. Greystone, for the first time, was utterly speechless, his face a mask of horrified realization that his meticulously crafted deception had been laid bare. Amelia Bones slammed her hand on the table, the sound echoing like a thunderclap. Percival Greystone, you are under arrest for treason, conspiracy, and attempted murder. Aurors, secure him. Two burly Aurors, who had been standing silently by the door, moved swiftly. Greystone lashed out with a desperate burst of magic, but Elias and Lysandra were ready, their wands already drawn. A combined stupefy from them, followed by the two other Aurors, brought the former head of the investigation division crashing to the ground, unconscious. The room erupted into controlled chaos. Fudge was pale, speechless. Robards was barking orders. But amidst the clamor, Elias met Lysandra's eyes. There was a shared understanding, a quiet triumph in their gaze. They had done it. They had forced the Ministry to confront the undeniable truth. The weight of the fight ahead pressed down, but for a moment, they simply shared the relief of a battle won, a partnership forged in fire. Elias looked at the unconscious Greystone, then back at the Ministry officials, who were now staring at him with a mixture of fear and dawning respect. Minister, he stated, his voice now devoid of any trace of arrogance, Voldemort is not gone. He is returning. And his network, the Infernal Cipher, has only just begun to reveal itself. We have stopped this ritual, but this is just the beginning. The war has already started. The silence that followed was different now, heavier, filled not with denial, but with a terrifying, absolute truth. The pieces had been laid out, the pattern undeniable. Voldemort was coming back. And the Infernal Cipher was still out there, its insidious threads weaving through the very fabric of magical Britain, waiting. The fight had only just begun.